Welcome everyone, and welcome to SupportU's Sofa Talks. And today I'm going to be bringing in a very lovely lady called Monique, who's joined the SupportU team, and she is working on a lot of making sure SupportU is has brought in and is engaging and supporting LGBT people of colour. Now, it's a very important piece of work, and I'm going to bring Monique to explain what her thinking is and explain why she is important to the role that we have. So, hello, Monique.
Hello, Lorna. Thank you for having me on
That's
Sofa
all right.
Talks today. Like Lorna said, my name is Monique, and I
Mhm.
have joined SupportU as the Cultural Engagement Officer. So it's my job to engage with the lesser represented people within the LGBTQ plus community. So focusing on LGBTQ plus people of color, people who identify as Black, BAME, and I'm also doing some work with LGBTQ plus refugees and asylum seekers as well. So yes, really, really exciting. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of conversing with different types of people, service users, staff, volunteers, and different organisations, and all over the country, just to see exactly how they feel about the representation for LGBTQ plus people of color, and what their experiences are, what we could be doing better, what they need, and what they think is lacking.
I agree. So, what we're going to do tonight is Monique's going to introduce you to our guest, special guest, but use the chat facility if you have any questions, if you have anything that you think we should be considering and bring into the conversation. We are more than happy to listen to your ideas of how we can improve things for the Black community and actually just anybody that's a person of colour. So please use the chat facility, and I will be monitoring that from the background while Monique introduces her guest. So go ahead. So the floor is yours, Monique. Go for it.
Thank you so much. I just want to apologize a little bit in advance. I've got two tiny people here, so they may be running in and out. But yeah, I'll try to keep that to a minimum. Okay, so I just wanted to introduce you to Chantal Gabriella Jazz, who is a dear friend of mine, and yeah, just an amazing person. And yeah, can you just tell us about yourself?
Thank you for having me on Sofa Talks. I am a queer mixed race woman. Well, I got taken off track there. But yeah, I'm a mixed woman, Indian Jamaican, and yeah, I'm a singer songwriter, spoken word artist. Well, actually, let's just say multidisciplinary artist. I also have a podcast out at the moment called Conversations Need to Be Had. But yeah, I'm just really excited to be here and to discuss some really important topics, as you know, it's something that me and Monique have both experienced in our journey, So yeah, hit me with some questions.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And as you said, yes, this topic is quite dear to both of our hearts. And yeah, I just really love the work that you do and everything like that. So yeah, awesome. So, I mean, we've had these conversations before, but obviously it's always good to keep having them, and as you do on your podcast, which I've listened to and I think is awesome, by the way. So everyone should check that out. Yeah, the whole thing about safe space representation for the lesser represented groups. I mean, let's just stick with LGBTQ plus people of color, QPOC, as some people like to refer to themselves as, queer people of color. How important do you think it is, especially in these times, to have a safe space for people of color within the LGBT community?
I mean, it's so important, you know, because of the cultural differences that we have and how that then plays on us, you know, when we come out and things like that. It's so important for us to have that sense of safety and a place where we can completely express ourselves and where we're coming from, you know. It's really important.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. I mean, you know, it's I think it's important for everyone to have a place where they feel safe to express themselves, and especially as, you know, people of color, there's a lot of things that we experience
Yeah,
that aren't going to affect other people, and then there's a lot of
exactly.
people, you know, with the religious backgrounds that comes into play, and sometimes you just, you know, you feel a little bit too say you feel a bit too black for an LGBT group, but you feel a little bit too gay for your black friends. So it's kind
Yeah,
of like, you know,
yeah.
where do you go? What are your experiences like, kind of growing up as a member of the LGBT
Wow.
gang and a person
I
of
mean,
color?
I mean, you know, we're around similar sort of ages. So when we kind of were experiencing and coming out, it was a whole different ballgame. We didn't actually, besides like, you know, Black Pride and things like that, we didn't really have a set place. I mean, now the youngsters have things like Babes. They have, you know, there's untold places where you can go, like A to Z Mag. They do things like, there's so many existing loudly. Like, you know, we never had that. I mean, so when I was growing up, it really was connecting via social media, actually,
Yes, yeah.
via Downlink.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
That was really a place for me to be able to really unpack my sexuality and connect with other Black or people of color that were gay. You know, and also, yeah, we had the nightlife, but I mean, to actually really connect and feel safe in that. Do you know what I mean? In the club life, you don't really, you know, you're just out there having fun. You're not really looking for a safe place. You're just looking to be wild, you know?
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So yeah, like, I think it's really fantastic what is happening right now for the next generation. But yeah, like, I wouldn't change it for the world, my experiences, you know?
No. Yeah, I mean, I was right there with you. So yeah,
I
it was
know,
a wild
girl.
time. It was a wild time.
Doing the most.
Oh my goodness, I know. Gosh,
Those chat rooms, girl.
I know. Oh gosh, the cameras and everything. It was crazy. But I think, like, it's really important what you're saying about how there's just so many organizations and so many events and stuff at the moment. I mean, would you agree that there's quite a lot happening in, you know, London? I mean, it's really, sorry, that's just my son. It's really difficult. Like, I find, obviously, I'm based in Reading, and with the SupportU charity, you know, we work with Reading and the whole of Thames Valley, and I find it a little bit hard to kind of come across queer spaces for people of color in Thames Valley, you know, or any sort of events or any kind of anything going on. I mean, London's kind of where I think about going back to.
Exactly, yeah. And you know what, I used to live in East Sussex, so
Okay.
you know, I had the same issue in the area that I lived. There wasn't really a space for me to be, you know, and I tried to create spaces, but it was more so with music, not to do with my sexuality. But you know, it is very hard when you're in these sort of environments that are quite rural, or, you know, it doesn't have so much multiculturalism, so it's very hard to then take out those people and then put them into that space, especially if, you know, they might not be out yet. Then they might, you know, especially if they are people of color and they're coming from the backgrounds that they're coming from. It's not easy to be who you truly are when you have so many indoctrinations on you, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, speaking about you know, as you're saying, trying to set up these kind of safe spaces, but kind of meeting problems with it. I mean, we've spoken on this before, but just to kind of delve in a little bit more, what do you think kind of deters people of color from, you know, coming to LGBT organizations, events, and kind of, you know, getting involved, engaging with these communities that don't really have much representation for people of color?
And I think that's the issue, is that then they feel that they're not actually included, and maybe people are exploiting them because they're trying to fill a box, you know. And a lot of people recently in my social groups have been saying, I don't actually feel included. I just feel like people just ticking a box and just putting me there, but they don't actually have any sort of connection to me, you know. It's just to fill this certain criteria that they have, especially with things like Black Lives Matter and stuff that we've seen in the media in general, you know, how much now all of a sudden, you know, we all want to have a Black person for this and you know. And some people that you know, they take it and they're like, okay, cool, I can use this and do it, you know, I can do what I want with it. But then others are like, no, because it's too late, you know. So, you know, it can always, it's a tricky one, because at the same time, you know, yes, we may be different from our cultures or our race, but ultimately, if we are trying to bring ourselves together, then we have to kind of, you know, not allow those differences to get in the way of how we can progress and have, you know, have a community, you know. But it's just very difficult, and I think it really goes down to the individual and how they feel and where they're at, really.
Yeah, I think what you were saying, it does really ring true for me. It kind of, it's a little bit of a kind of crazy circle, because you know, you want to say represent people of color more, you want to engage with the Black LGBT community more, for instance, but you know, approaching say an organization, for instance, that doesn't seem to have that representation, you're wary of it yourself. You're thinking like, well, you know, you don't really speak to me, so why am I coming to you? But then it's kind of like, well, we need more people to engage with us to show that we are inclusive, to get people to engage. So it's kind of like, you know, where do you go? But I think it is a tricky one, but I definitely think raising awareness, things like that, you know, I think you actually said something like that to me before, where it's like, you know, don't push it, don't be like, you know, join us, but just raise the awareness. Collaboration, you mentioned
it's like
before.
collaboration with these organizations, some of the places that I've mentioned and things like that, and then, you know, you build that rapport with the people that you're trying to connect with, and they're like, okay, they must be safe then, they must be cool for me to, you know, and then people will delve into it. But yeah, like, nothing by force, you know, nothing by force will ever be of worth, you know what I mean? And people be like, well, why are you forcing it? What are you really hiding? What is this really about? So yeah, just let it flow, really, just let it flow.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm all for that. You know, I have so many kind of big dreams about just having loads of you know, events and campaigns, and just getting really people involved, and just showcasing. I really want to showcase people's talent. You know, there are so many talented people of color out there, like queer people of color, digital artists, poets, you know, spoken word art poets and singers like yourself, and, you know, authors, and so I you know, designers. I'd really love to kind of I think showcasing talent is just a beautiful way to bring people together, and to show that we are inclusive, and we do have space for you if you want it. What other things, I mean, what kind of other things would you think of in terms of like engaging with lesser represented people?
Well, I mean, I think you kind of touched on it, on having those sort of events and things. I mean, now obviously with lockdown and that, it's difficult to have things face to face. But I think, you know, I can't really suggest anything more than just being present and making yourselves known within the ones that are out there already. Do you get what I mean? That are run by people of color, and then collaborating, you know. But it's very difficult in this time to really find solutions to these things, you know, because we're in a very weird time. But I mean, you know, we're doing this virtually right now, so, you know, there are ways. But yeah, like I don't necessarily have the answers.
No, but
the answers, right?
I was just stealing your ideas anyway. I was like, collaboration. I was written down everything you said to me last week. Yeah, that sounds like something I'd say. But yeah, no, I think it's especially collaboration. That seems to be a big thing that's coming up. I mean, I've been conducting one-on-one interviews. I've been speaking to so many different types of people. I've been attending conferences, talks. You know, there was one with the NHS earlier today at the university, and collaboration just keeps coming up. I mean, I've been like taking part in like equality and diversity talks and stuff like that, and it's just collaboration. It just keeps coming up, and it's really, it's a weird, I think it's a weird kind of duality, because it's kind of like, we need these separate spaces, we need these separate safe spaces where we can fully express ourselves, you know, in the entirety, but we're not trying to segregate, we're not trying to be separate, we're trying to come together, but you need that, you know, the safety of your group, you know. But you know, speaking of like I mean, I know I was talking before about having like events with you know, different artists and stuff. Tell me a little bit more about like your artistry, like your, so I mean, you sing, you write songs,
so
you spoken word.
I'm a singer-songwriter, spoken word artist. So like, you know, you've known me from before. Like, I knew you as the singer. I was not a singer when I knew you, but things have changed, things have evolved, you know what I mean? And you know, and it's actually places. I'm a singer, girl. But you know, it's places like LGBT poetry that really helped me to kind of build up my confidence and stuff. Like, you know, I've been privileged enough to perform at places like Bootylicious. You know, I mean, in regards to the LGBT, you know, I've really played a part in that kind of scene and seen how, you know, having these different spaces like poetry and LGBT poetry, you know, it wasn't just a rave. It was a space where actually we could connect. We could do our, you know, our poems and things like this. But yeah, I don't know if I've answered the question. Can you ask me again?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like an ongoing thing, because I wanted to kind of know a bit more about like what you do, but then also I wanted to know, you know, say for instance your spoken word pieces, like when it comes to topics, I mean, is your sexuality an influence? Is your race an influence?
I mean, everything is the influence, but I think for me, like I kind of, you know, I did partake in certain things within the community, but it was very important for me to not attach myself to my sexual identity, because for me personally, it's a very small part of my life. I'm an artist, not an LGBT artist. And I found in the past, when people put those labels in front of themselves, they wasn't able to progress outside of the community. And I've been fortunate enough to actually build myself up outside of the community and to be accepted. And then for people to find out, oh, you're queer. I'm like, you know what I mean? And then that's not the first thing they're looking at, because a lot of the times, you know, if that was there, then people will be like, I'm not listening to this. What's she going to be talking about? She's, you know, she's doing some dirties with some girls. I don't want to hear that. Do you get what I mean? But you know what, like, you know, we have to be who we have to be, and my path, you know, might not be the same as other people. And as I've said, like, you know, I'm 31, you know, and people that are coming up now, they're living in a world where people accept, you know, homosexuality to a much wider degree than what they did when I was young. So I had to, in some way, find a way to kind of navigate, and maybe that, you know, maybe that played a part in me not wanting to just delve into that. But you know, if you listen to my first EP, Asesina de mi Corazon, which means assassin of, I have it on my chest. Yeah, I had a broken heart. That EP is dedicated to my love, one of my loves. But yeah, you know, on that EP, I spoke, you know, very in detail about that relationship, and I wasn't holding that back. Do you get what I mean? But as I've grown older, the topics have kind of changed, and you know, I've got a project out at the moment with Tap Collective, which is run by Becca Reed, who is a violinist, a black violinist, and she's phenomenal. She uses a loop pedal and stuff. But in that song, it's called Never Knew Why, and it's a collaborative piece with a lot of the artists who are quite, you know, up and coming in Southeast London right now, and of female representing, and it's just really powerful. And it's just a song talking about situations that were happening last year with BLM and all of these sort of things. So I've kind of opened up my artistry now, in being more kind of political. I mean, you know me, I've always been very passionate about what's going on in society. I've never held my mouth, ever, and I never will.
Right on.
But, this next project that I have coming out, it's kind of more like embracing the growth that has happened in me as a woman. But it's just, Nina Simone said it, it is our duty as artists to document the times. So for me, it's what I do. I can't be putting things out there just because I want a #1 hit. I want to put pieces of art there that will stand the test of time because I was showcasing a piece of history in my art. So
I mean, and it was completely understandable that you wouldn't want to, be, well, I'm a lesbian and then like, and I do music or whatever, because that takes away from the focus of, what you're trying to do. So
unfortunately.
When it comes to music and things like that, that's completely understandable. But I mean, you mentioned, your age and what you think about youth, and I remember we were talking before, and you're very for kind of making sure things are okay for the young, for the youth, like not too worried about you're settled, you're good, but like we need to make sure things are good for youth. And what are your thoughts on like LGBTQ youth, like Black youth, like people of color, the youth? I mean, do you feel like they're getting the representation that they need? They've got the safe spaces that they need? And
I do actually feel that they have more of a privilege than we ever did. But it is ultimately down to them for them to seek that and to see that. But it is for people like myself to actually showcase that and say, look, actually you have this, and it wasn't like that before, and even for our generation, the people that came before, I'm working with someone at the moment to actually create something to document the times. But when I was speaking to him, he was saying, when he was coming up and when he came out, it was like a whole, it's like 10 years difference between me and him. So it's a whole different world. So it's like, wow, like we've made so much, and that's the thing, we have made so much progress, but it is, it is because of those that came before us. And I think for me, it's just so important to always pass down the baton. Whatever I've learned on my journey is so important for me to then pass that on to next generations, because it also informs them, but it also kind of allows them to appreciate what they do have now,
I think that's really important. I mean, I saw a piece the other day about, I think it was in The Guardian, and it was about QPOC, British queer people of color, like through history. And it was like it was a photography piece, and it was like people were sending in their old photos from the 70s and the 80s, and then like talking about where they've come from and where they are now. And I think it's so important to show that history. I mean, when I first joined SupportU, that was one of the things I was thinking about, like doing a kind of history QPOC history project. I think it's really,
that's incredible.
I think it's really important to kind of know, as you said, who paved the way for you, and like where we've come from. And this goes back to the whole representation thing, because I mean, I remember watching something once, and someone was trying to think of LGBT person of color, like a celebrity that they could kind of emulate, like in the UK, and they were just like and they like just couldn't think of like anyone. And I was like, oh man, I mean, we've got so many talented people within our community. I mean, I just really want to focus on showcasing that. But Yeah, no, I think it, what you're saying is really important. I mean, you mentioned before, just to go back as well, you mentioned us having Black Pride and things like that. And what are your, I mean, I haven't been to Black Pride I mean, I've lived in Reading for 10 years now. I mean,
Okay, wow.
I think I went once.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay, so big up all day, every day. I will always big up Lady Phil, always, because
Yes.
the fact that she saw a space and she created something, and it's yet again she's created something not just for herself but for next generations. And as it's in the time that you've been away, it has progressed so much. The last one, before we all had this lockdown and everything, it was thousands of people, and they weren't all gay. I saw some people in the music scene that I'm in the jazz music scene. I saw them there. It was just literally a celebration of, and it was people that everyone. It was so packed. I was so proud of Lady Phil and everybody else that is part of the team, because they managed to create something like that where youngsters coming through will be like, oh my God, I love me. Like, look at all these gay people everywhere. Look at all these trans people everywhere. And loving themselves unapologetically, because we weren't allowed to have that. I remember going to Black Pride when it was connected to London Pride, and we had literally just a square, square street, and that was, I don't know, maybe that was the last one you went to. I think that was the last time,
and
you had to pay. You had to pay to get in.
I remember
and
that.
And as it's gone on, she the team enabled it to be free. And all of these different things. And it's just like, wow, this is absolutely fantastic, because when you go to things like London Pride, I'm not being funny, but it's mostly white gay men. And I've heard too many people say, I don't feel comfortable because this is not about my experience. This is about their experience. I'm not hearing even the music I like. I'm not even, do you know what I mean? So for us to actually have that is incredible. And I'll always take my hat off to that woman, because anyone who has a vision, you have to go for it, you know what I mean? And she went for it, and she's actually made so many other people so happy just by that dream. And I'll always give thanks for that.
Lady Phil, oh, that's awesome. Well, I really hope that they can, after lockdown and everything, can continue this in the future and everything. So I mean, so what you talking a little bit about the projects that you're working on at the moment. I mean, anything in the future, kind of anything that you're thinking of?
Okay, so as I said, I have a podcast called Conversations Need to Be Had,
which is awesome.
It's just a podcast that is about conversations that need to be had, obviously. But it's just to inspire authenticity, freedom of speech, and did I say spirituality?
No.
And spirituality. So a lot of the people that we have on there are absolutely incredible people, and they really bare their hearts and souls and just openly speak about their perspectives without any judgment. I don't judge them on where they come from. I actually have a really phenomenal being on my podcast tomorrow who actually was a trans man and now has actually gone back to a woman.
Right. Okay.
Their story is just so phenomenal, and it's just I feel like in the time that we live in now, it's just so important to hear these sort of stories, because we don't really hear about that, and then we start judging that person, saying, oh, this did that or made you do that. And it's like, no, when you hear this person's story, they went through so much just to find who they really were inside, and I think it's just so important for people's stories to be heard.
Right. Okay.
But other projects, so I've got the podcast, so that will be the final episode of the season. This weekend we had to break it into 2 parts, but then we will be doing a season 2, which will be out later on in the year, which will be actual visual as well. It's not going to just be on Spotify and all of that. And I have new music that will be coming out. I'm so excited. I've been working with some fantastic people on this project.
Yay.
So the future looks bright.
That's awesome.
Not like my camera though, guys. I just want to say that the reason why my camera looks like I'm in 2001 is because I usually have a little something over it so no one can see me, and I had it on for so long that I actually smashed the camera a bit. So that's why it's like that.
Dedication. No, I love it. As I said, it gives a little mystical
I am Mystic Meg.
feel to
I am
it.
Mystic Meg. I also do
yeah.
Reiki, by the way. So if anybody needs any Reiki, hit me up.
Oh my goodness. Yes, please. I did Reiki as well. Oh yeah. Well, you tune to the second what's it called? Being attuned to the second degree or
Second
first degree?
I'm on the first degree, honey.
I'm attuned to the first. Oh, same. Lorna. Hey, Lorna. Lorna's back.
Hey.
Hello. So a couple of comments.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that Frankie B is a very proud mother right now.
No.
I think that's
She ain't
her
my
mother,
mother.
Monty.
I'm joking. No, that's my mum. Aww. My mum's here.
And
Sure.
yeah, if you can, so what people want to know is how they can access your podcast.
Okay,
So where is it being streamed from?
So it's on every podcasting site that you can think of. So Apple Podcasts, Google I don't know. Actually, it's not Google Podcast, but it's on Spotify, Anchor, all of that. Literally, just type it in Google and it'll pop up. And it's also on YouTube as well. What we're doing is we're just putting the first season every week on there. So if you could find it more so on YouTube and subscribe, I would love that.
We'll repost that. I think it'll be really good to repost that after the show. That's cool. Any other comments?
I promise. They're looking forward to seeing your second. They're looking forward to all your what you're going to do and your contribution to the arts.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Did I say that someone thinks you've got a filter?
Chantal.
I'm trying to hide myself. No, it's my camera.
Filter.
If you can ping me over the link and everything, and I'll put it as a stream at the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'll pop back in if I see anything pop up, and I'll leave you to the next.
Yeah, please do.
All right.
So much, Lorna. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so carrying on the conversations. So we've obviously touched on, LGBTQ plus people of color, why they may feel a bit hesitant to engaging with LGBT organizations and existing groups and things like that. I mean, like, how do you feel about these terms and things like that, like QPOC? I mean, have you heard QPOC before?
You remember when you said that to me? I was like, what does that mean? Yeah. As you know, but as people that are probably been watching this, I don't really like to identify myself to things. I feel like sometimes when we put ourselves to things, we're actually limiting ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And also I feel like, things like BAM and all of that, it just kind of puts us into this small bracket, and it doesn't really allow space for the individuals that are within that community, those different races, and it just kind of just clusters us all together. It's just like, hold on, we're all different. What are you talking about? Someone who is, I don't know, from, who's Muslim is not the same as someone who's Hindu. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's not the same. If I was brought up in South Africa, it's not the same as someone who's brought up in South America. So you can't just say, oh, yeah, we're all put in this one little thing. But as I said before, I feel like it's criteria nowadays. Everything is about filling in a box. But it's like, we're beyond the box. We're the rainbow, honey.
Yes, exactly. I think what you're saying, I've had so many conversations with people where even just the terms or just the grouping, it becomes problematic. It's like, well, I'm not, what do you mean by it? For instance, people of color, like that could be so many people. Are you talking to the Caribbean community, the black community? Are you speaking to, Asian community? Like, so it's kind of like, it has been proving really tricky and a little bit problematic, when you're having conversations with people and using these terms and stuff. But it's also kind of needed in a way, because it's like, say for instance, you want to engage more with people. How are you supposed to get a widespread information out there without having some sort of long, like, okay, well, this is this, like, I mean, I myself I've heard QPOC for quite some time, but I know it's a very American type term, and I do consider myself a queer lesbian, so I don't mind the term like queer. But even that, some people have issue with. So it's kind of like, how do you approach and engage with, say, for instance, the Black LGBT community? Like, what wording would you even use?
I don't know. You can't always make everybody happy. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
someone's always going to be offended, even if you are watching your T's and your C's and your whatever. You're trying to do everything. So I guess it's literally like you said. It's not in an offensive way that it's done. It's just to kind of just let people know this is for you. So I don't think that we can really help people's reactions.
I think kind of, if as long as you're going into it with an open heart, and you're not being, as you said, you're not doing it to offend anyone, and you're open to change, and you're open to learning. It's like, I mean, I started using QPOC and I was like, okay, but then I've seen QTPOC and I'm like, oh yeah, what about my trans people? Like, where's that representation? Where's my Black trans people? Like that? It's like, they're gonna, just the support and the representation that those people, those members of our community will need. That's something that I would want to delve into as well. So I've seen people using QTPOC, and then I was like, should I say QTPOC? But I think, like, as long as you're open to change, open to things evolving, and approach something with an open heart, then if someone has an issue with it, then we can have a conversation. Conversations need to be had. These conversations, like you said, need to be had.
Exactly, and just be open to that. I feel like we live in a world now where everything has to be an argument, and it's like, it's not an argument. It's not, you can literally just have a dialogue with someone, and like you said, if you have that open heart, then you're able to actually find a resolution between each other. But if you're just kind of with you're offending me, because a lot of the time it's not intentional. Me, I'm a very intentional woman, but for me it's always about intention. You might do something wrong or whatever, but was that your intention? No, it was not your intention. So I'm not gonna throw knives at you. Do you get what I mean? We're all human beings at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And we're all learning.
I mean, so obviously I've been asking you a lot of questions about LGBT people of color, access and services, and just joining different communities and groups. What are your thoughts on people volunteering their time and staff? I mean, do you feel that there is enough diverse representation in LGBT organizations, for instance? Like, unless they're kind of run by, say if they're they're Black owned, or run by an Asian community. I mean, do you feel like just in general there's enough?
I mean, we are the minority in this country, so we can't expect everything. Do you get what I mean? And like you were saying, when you live in a place like where I live, London, people literally think the whole of the country's like this, and it's not. For me, like, I lived outside of London, and it wasn't I can't speak to these people or whatever because they're this or that. It's like, if they're good people to me, if they're good, just like I can go to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think we need to just look beyond the exterior of people and actually just feel who they really are, and then we can get what we need to receive, but if we're putting all these barriers, like, you don't look this way and you're not this and then you actually could be missing out on a great opportunity of bettering your own life, just because you're being so judgmental. I think for me it's just about reprogramming ourselves in actually understanding that, yes, we have these different cultures, yes, we might have been brought up wherever, but ultimately we are human beings and we can relate on so many different levels.
Let's see. I think Lorna, we might have just had a question.
Yeah, was there a question?
Lorna.
Yeah, I'm coming over.
Yeah.
She's back.
I'll just show it. So someone is saying, it's Frankie, is it that you're not
I don't
trying
know
to
that person.
separate with labels but recognise? I think.
So is it that we are not trying to separate with all these labels, but kind of recognize? Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Chantel, but I think that's kind of like what I was trying, where it's kind of like, yeah, it's that duality where you don't want the, you know, this, you don't really want the separation and the segregation, but in order to reach a large, that's my son, a large amount of people, we sometimes have to use these terms and these labels. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. Sometimes you do need to use them. Do you get what I mean? Especially if you've experienced a life where you've not felt included. You know,
Yeah.
so it's even more important to have that sort of identity to attach to, which then allows you to feel connected to others.
Yes,
do you get what I mean?
yeah.
And I feel, for me personally, because I'm on a different sort of vibe, it's like I'm actually trying to get away from identity. I think that's been the biggest limitation of my life. Even me saying now that I'm queer is not what I would have said 10 years ago, because I was so stuck in that view. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like, yeah, like, you know, we're all on different journeys, you know?
Yes, yeah. I mean, thanks for that, by the way, Lorna. That's really, you know, obviously, please let us know.
I think we can all, I think, yeah, I think we can, the LGBT community are getting really hung up on their labels.
Yeah, too much.
It's weird. It's like you talk to some people, I don't want a label. I don't want this label. But then but as humans, we're tribal. So we want to fit in and need that label to fit into our little boxes, but appreciate that the word queer, that obviously my generation wouldn't like, or and above. I recognise that that's a very big umbrella term now.
Yes,
and
yeah.
So
yeah, that's why I use it, because it is that umbrella.
Yeah, exactly.
Me too. I've come to really like, you know, using the word queer, because you know, it speaks about my gender expression for me. It speaks about you know, my sexuality that is sometimes fluid. Like it just speaks to so many different aspects of myself that yeah, that's why I personally, you know, like to use the word queer. But we do have a lot of labels within the, you know, the LGBT community, and it can be confusing to us, let alone.
And that's what I was trying to say, is that sometimes we feel that we are trying to, you know, connect on these different things or whatever, but then actually sometimes we're actually separating ourselves even more. Because for me personally, like, I'm not trying to be offensive, but for me, it's like, how many letters are we going to add? Do you get what I mean?
We are known as the alphabet mafia.
You know,
the alphabet mafia.
Well, I didn't hear that bit.
Oh, she said we're known as the alphabet mafia.
Why not? I like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, they all has meaning. It's not like it's just put there, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think for me, it's just like, okay, but when is it ever going to end? Like, we could add any. Do you get what I mean? Like,
hopefully, I have this kind of beautiful kind of image. Like, hopefully, it will end. You know, when we've used every letter in the alphabet, and it shows that just we're all one. We're all the same. We're A, B, C, D, G, Z. You know, join us.
Yeah.
So I kind of think it's confusing, and it can be frustrating, and it can be exhausting, but it's kind of beautiful to me in a way, because it just shows that we are so inclusive. We want everyone to feel equal. We want everyone to feel like they're safe and they're home. And so we're going to add this in. We're going to add that in. Oh, wait, we forgot about, we're going to add that in. But yeah, it's underbly
exactly, especially from what we've all, you know, individually have gone through with our own sexuality and having to come to terms with that, and then coming out, you know. Of course, we want to enable other people to feel secure, you know, and feel that they have somewhere that they can go and be.
I came out multiple times for so many different. I was like, Mom, I'm a lesbian. Mom, I'm bisexual. Mom, I think I'm a lesbian again. Actually, I think I might be a guy. Like, no, I'm everything. And
you're everything.
I know. She was so like, you know, open. Yes, fantastic. Yeah, well, Thanks so much.
Well, I think sorry, just to
Yeah.
one of the things that we find as SupportU as a support service, how can we get the message across to the Black community, Asian community, all of them, to say that if you're struggling with your identity and your sexuality, what message can we put out to say that we're here for you too?
I mean,
and I think that's where I'm struggling.
Yeah, I think doing things like this is fantastic. You know, we live in this virtual reality now. People want to be able to engage. They want to see what you're really about. If you can get, you know, people like myself and all of that, like, you know, it will then bring more people to you. But, you know, it is difficult. You know, I don't really have the answers for that, you know, but I think having more presence online is a massive, massive thing. You know, and word of mouth, when people see something, then they're going to pass that message on, like, did you hear about that? And especially with what's going on now and the way it's affecting people within our community, within their mental health, things like that. There's young people that are having to live at home, and they're trans, and they want to just be who they are, and they can't take tea, and there's so much. So people do need support more than they ever have. So I really hope from what we've done today that people understand that there is a space for them, and that you can feel included.
Yeah.
I'll leave you to do the last 10. You've got 10 minutes.
Oh,
You've done really well. You're doing really well. I shall leave you to round
This
up.
is my new job. I work for the internet now. I'm gonna have a podcast called "Call Me Mother," and just be like, planning and just like living that fantasy. But yeah, no, I think what you were saying, when we were just speaking to Lorna there, it's these conversations that bring people together and prick people's interest and show that we're talking about this, we're willing to build on this, we're willing to stand up for you, have the space that you need, so it's not, we don't have to kind of, as you said, kind of force things on people, but just actively do things, when it comes to, say, really large topics, for instance, like racism, for instance. I heard someone the other day say it's not just enough to say you're not racist, it's you need to actively be anti-racist, like basically every day. So it's kind of like it's important for us to do these things.
Sorry to cut you, but people are really frustrated with this whole allyship rubbish. And they're like, hold on, you're doing this for 5 minutes, and then next minute, you it's like you say, it's something that you have to do every day, and it shouldn't be performative. It shouldn't be just because you've heard something go on in social media or in society. It should be literally, I have respect for other human beings, and I want to learn about them, and I actually want them to be represented and treated equally, like I'm treated equally. Do you get what I mean? And we're just living in that sort of world now where people are very reactive, unfortunately, and there's no sustainability to their reaction. It just happens for a minute and then it's done, and then there's something else. So that's something we can't control, because that's the world that we live in now. Everything is hyper normalization. Do you get what I mean? But hopefully from people watching this, they will hear this and maybe think about that. Do you get what I mean?
Oh, someone just said that they're loving that we're using our voices, and that's where it starts, doesn't it? Anything like this, if I was to tune into, I was listening to a talk the other day about it's just like 4 friends, for a couple of Black women and Asian women, and they were just having a conversation. They were just talking about like a street. Like I used to live down a street in Reading, and they were just talking about that street. But I was just like, yes, wow. And it's just like, you're just talking about living down this road, but you're saying it with the experiences that like I've had, and I just felt so included and just so comforted by that. And I just think it's little things like this that we need, and like you said, things are so, as you said, people are the way that people react these days, but everything is just online, everything is here virtually, and we need to get get in with that and have these conversations, you know. So I think
just to be present on social media is enough. Do you get what I mean? And allow the space to connect with others, and that, you know, and then, you know, your presence gets known, you know.
Yes, yeah. So what is next for Chantel then? What is your, do you say you've got a podcast tomorrow?
Yes, so I have a podcast with somebody called Steph Thompson, as I said.
Steph Thompson,
has gone to transition now. She speaks about a whole journey of, you know, her sexual identity, finding out about her sexuality, you know, going through the transition, you know, even just the experience of taking hormones. Like, I've not really heard anyone really speak about it in the way that she did, and how that actually affected their, you know, mental health. And I thought that was just so important, because, you know, with anything that we put in our bodies, we need to really know what the hell it is and what it can do to ourselves. And I think, you know, in the pursuit of happiness, sometimes we will take anything and we don't actually realize the impact that it has. Because, for instance, with her story, you know, she was trying to seek that, but then at the same time actually put more onto the mental health aspect of themselves, you know. So yeah, it's just really, really exciting to be able to share her story. And yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of people that will backlash, because she's a born again Christian now, and people might think that she's had conversion therapy and all of this, but when you hear the whole story, that was not the case. Everything that she has done has been by her own choice, and I think that is really important. And like I said, my podcast is about spirituality. I don't care what religion you are or whatever, but if you are, you know, trying to get back to God or creator or whatever, I want to hear your story, because in this time right now, we need to be grounded and centered. And you know, when we know self, we know that we are the creator ourselves.
Oh, well, I will definitely be tuning in, definitely. And I am still you know, doing my project and my work with SupportU at the moment. I've just got a short amount of time where I am desperately trying to connect with as many people as possible, collect as many stories and opinions, views, experiences, suggestions. So I really want to speak to everyone, because what I'm trying to do is get all this together and just so we can see, you know, what work is still need to be done, what people want, and you know, where we're falling short or where we're succeeding. And I just really get that together. So I mean, anyone who's listening who wants to talk to me, you know, you don't have to be a queer person of color, but if you've got those experiences with the community, then, you know, that would be great. Everything's anonymized as well when I, you know, I'm giving my reports and stuff. So yes, please contact SupportU on social media or you know, anywhere you can, so I can have those conversations with you.
And follow me on social media if you all Shan Jazz.
All Shan Jazz, yes. Where are you? What you on? You on?
I'm on
Insta,
everything.
Twitter,
Instagram. I don't really use Twitter. So yeah, just hit me up on Instagram. I'm on Instagram.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, cool. Lorna, do you have any kind of last thoughts? Is anything coming up for SupportU that you wanted to mention?
I should mention the next one, the next Sofa Talks that we have next month. We will be looking at the men. Well, we'll be talking to Amy. Will join us from the organisation, and she's doing her project on the men that were criminalised for their homosexuality, and looking at their stories and what she's found and what she's found through that history project. And that's going to be really interesting, because I'm going to learn a lot, because I don't know half the stuff she's found.
I'm going
to tune in next month to find out what information she's found out.
That's going to be really cool. That project is it's fantastic. Broken Futures. It's really thought provoking. That's really cool. But yes, Chantel, thank you so much. We've still got a few minutes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
There you go. There I go. There's your
just put up.
Thank you.
Shanjaz.
While you were asking me to come back in, I was like trying to get it.
Oh wow. So what do you got planned for the rest of the I should have been in bed 2 hours ago.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I'm just up. I'm on the cacao for this.
Oh, gosh,
Got my
I've been
pajamas
drinking-
waist down.
Yeah, I'm drinking shago mushroom tea.
Ah, yeah. Is it nice? I've always wanted to get into that. I
Yeah.
saw the coffee. They've got that coffee.
Oh, is
shago
it?
mushroom coffee. Yeah.
I'm not really into coffee. I'm a tea girl, really. But
Yeah.
yeah. What do you asked me? What have I got planned now?
Yep.
Just gonna be
Nothing?
chilling now. Just gonna be chilling now and trying
Yeah.
to get a little bit more sleep. I've been feeling tired.
Oh my goodness. I think we all have. There just
Yeah.
seems to be a general kind of global exhaustion at the moment. I don't know if anyone else is just feeling that.
How
And
about
we've
you,
been through
Lorna?
a lot. Yeah. What are you up to for the rest of the evening, Lorna?
I've got my dinner still to have. I believe I've got sausage and mash.
Oh, lovely.
That's like ultimate comfort food. Oh, love it. I love it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the benefit of living with your mother now. She makes me
Oh,
fun.
nice.
No.
I just go around my mum's, like, eat all her food in her kitchen. But like, see you later, Mom.
I think we all do that. I think we all do that.
Yeah. There's that comfort though, isn't there, with like
Exactly.
your mums, like their food just tastes better. It could be the exact same food that you're buying, or
Exactly.
but it just tastes better.
We're getting praised for we're getting love. Here we go. Some things are coming through. Love this conversation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Dion.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
And we got this one thanking us for promoting next month's.
Oh, you're
and obviously you,
welcome.
as well as you.
No, this is wonderful. I mean, I would love to do this again. Hopefully, if we can do this again some point, and have you back on, have some other people, and just continue having these conversations. I really want to thank you, Lorna, and thank SupportU for just giving me this opportunity to start this work, to start this journey.
Well, I'm just sorry it took. Well, we've had to go on a journey ourselves and deliver a service, and now we can break down what the service needs to be delivering,
Yes.
and we need to understand what our clientele need, and that's the important bit. So, and we do know and recognise that the Black community, and I always find it difficult as a white person to make sure I'm saying all the right things, and we get ourselves all tongue-tied.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so we want to hear from people from all the different communities. Really, to be honest, it's all communities, and know what support they're after. We recognise that they're hiding. We know they're hiding. We know you're scared. We just need you to reach out and use our service. This is what we're there for. And we wouldn't. And if you want to keep your religion, it's not an issue. As long as you're safe, that's what we advocate. Be safe.
And that's wonderful. I think that's such a wonderful thing about SupportU, just the safety of people and the inclusion and equality is just, what you're trying to promote. So thank you so much. I think
well done, Monique, for your first one.
Yeah, well done, girl.
Thank you. Thanks so much. You're going to see me on ITV tomorrow now. Taking over from Piers Morgan.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And another thing. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. I don't know how to exit.
Let's just say goodbye. I don't think there is an exit graphic. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can find the exit graphic. What I can do is just everybody just say goodbye. I will put the final graphic from earlier. And we'll say goodbye.
Please message us, connect with us on social media. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Done.